what would be your best piece of advice for somebody that wants to lose weight? What would be like the first thing you would tackle?
Diet.
Diet?
I think diet is number one. Because there's a lot of things that go into losing weight the more you look into it. But the number one is definitely diet because you have to be in that caloric deficit. And so I would recommend normally someone who wants to lose weight is someone who is overweight. And so they probably have accumulated some bad habits.
Mhm.
And so I would recommend start trying to replace some of those bad habits. So one thing I like to tell my clients and such is instead of drinking soda, drink diet soda. Instead of eating normal ice cream, get some of that low fat ice cream. That's something that I personally do. I like ice cream, but there's some good ice cream out there that's like 100 calories a serving instead of like 500. And so replacing all these little habits, I think, is a great first step. And obviously, as you get further down the road, you could better and better your diet. But that's the first step I want to start tackling is the diet. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of people um, compensate, if that's the correct word. They're like, oh, I'm drinking diet soda, saving all these calories, and now I could get eat these calories instead. Like I could have that extra cookie now because I'm drinking the diet soda. No, that's not the case. You have to replace those, but treat them as the same, so that way
Mm.
the calorie count goes below, and you could start working on that losing weight. But that's kind of, I think, number one for me. What would you say?
For me, my approach is a little untraditional. I think you should, if wanting to lose weight, for me especially, this is just what works for me. Anytime I want to lose weight, I just start consuming more meat. I just eat more meat. I don't like eat less of other things. As long as I eat more meat, I will be full. I will be more full for longer, just because my body has to use more energy to burn that. Um, and typically, if I'm hungry and I choose and I force myself instead of eating like carbs and sugars and stuff like that, like, all right, what's meat? What's some meat that I can eat instead? I always end up losing weight in the long run. I always end up like cutting calories down. Um, And I find it a lot easier to eat a lot more calories when I'm not focused on eating meat. So when I'm eating just like a normal diet, I will end up being in a caloric surplus. But if I focus on eating my like 2 pounds of beef a day, I am so damn full. And then I'm under calories, like violently under calories. And I'm like, shit, I have to eat more, just even like maintain my weight. And I always end up losing weight. So that's just like the way I've tackled it for the last couple of years. Whenever I want to get my like say I want to get down to like the single digit body fat percentages, I always just focus on eating more meat, chicken, ahi, just beef in general, and then I'm just full for longer. And it's hard to eat carbs. Like it's harder to eat those sugars and whatnot. And then also another thing is just staying away from sugar, because sugar will stop your body from burning fat. Like, I can prove that one to you if you'd like. Sugar will stop your body from burning fat. The more sugar you consume just makes it difficult for your body to burn fat. Because just because it damages the testosterone, and that's like I don't have to explain that one. That one
Yeah.
should be a given if you've watched enough episodes.
Well, the meat thing's really interesting, especially, finishing up my nutrition coach certification. It talks a lot about meat in terms of several things. I mean, meat is the most satiating macronutrients you could have, protein. So it satiates you the most. And so
Mhm.
meat is the thing that fills you the most out of all the macronutrients. Not only that, but like you said, it takes the most to burn that meat. And so it's interesting. You can look at each macronutrient, and as it enters the body has to burn calories to digest that macronutrient. And meat, it takes the most. So not only is it the most satiating, but it also takes the most calories to burn. So you're getting the most bang for your buck out of that. And you could look at I don't know how many studies are on, not many studies are on the carnivore diet, but you could look at real life implications of people who go on that. I wouldn't say that's the most optimal way to lose weight, but it just kind of shows that meat does help lower that body fat percentage just because of a lot of those factors.
Mhm.
But in general terms, not only meat, but like you said about sugar, um, is one thing I always recommend is people to tend to lean towards more whole foods, uh, which is, in other words, foods as God created them.
Mhm.
The more processed the food, the more likely your body's gonna act weirdly to it. Like sugar and fried foods and breads, all those are extremely processed. And so the more you can avoid those things, the more you can, I think, lower your body fat percentage or lose weight. Um, I was looking at this study the other day. It was pretty interesting. They took two groups of people. One group of people, they fed whole foods until they told them to eat whole foods until you are satiated. So just eat until you're not hungry anymore, don't eat anymore, and no less. And they did the same thing with another group, but with processed foods. They said eat until you're satiated, no more, no less. And the group that ate whole foods ate in a 500 calorie deficit on average every day. But the group that ate processed food ate about a 500 calorie surplus every day. So it just shows you how filling uh, more whole foods are and how less filling uh, processed foods are. And it's interesting to think about that. You wonder, why is that? I mean, one thing, at least that clicks in my brain, is you're eating these processed foods that are processed. A lot of the nutrients are taken out of them, and your body could be like, I need more of this because I'm trying to get all the nutrients that I need. And so you can eat, ice cream, and that's not going to give you the nutrients. Your body's like, I want my nutrients. Give me more. As in the whole foods, you eat the whole foods, and it's easy to get all those nutrients in. And that's kind of a cool thing, is if you honestly think about it, if you build your diet to where you're satiated with whole foods and you're getting that 500 calorie deficit, you could have a little snack, a little treat at the end of the
Mhm.
day, as long as you're maintaining the majority of your diet that whole food. And so, yeah, that's one thing I recommend, is whole foods as best as you can.
Mhm. As per cutting sugars, I know it can be incredibly difficult. Just speaking from experience, it's anytime I decide to cut my sugars down, I did that like 2 weeks where I went down to like 10 grams of sugar a day, and that was intense. Like that was crazy. Now I'm up at like 30 grams a day, 30 to 40. Sometimes I go over. I won't lie. Like some days I feel like I'm probably around like the 50 to 60 range. But I notice it in my body. I notice it in my energy levels. I notice it um, like if I'm up in the 60 to like 60-gram range of sugar for the day, I feel a little more lethargic. I feel a little more like the and I'm very intuitive when it comes to my body and how I feel. Like I like to listen to how I feel. If I feel sleepy or tired, I know something's off. If I'm working out and I don't have the right energy to like lift, I know something in my diet is off. And that's how I always gauge things, is like if my workout is sluggish and shitty, something in my diet is off. And I will always point it out. I'll always be like, all right, I don't have enough energy today. Why? What did I eat yesterday? What did I consume yesterday throughout the day? And I always point to the day before as well as like the day, but I like to think of like the day before as like what feeds my workout today. So if I have enough water and whatnot the day before, my workout and whatnot today should be pretty good. And typically it's like, okay, I had a little more sugar, didn't have enough like healthy carbs, because I don't do strict carnivore diet anymore. I do carnivore based, where like I do have my brown rice and a lot of fruit. I will eat a ton of fruit and a lot of meat, but I don't eat like pastas. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat bread. Just because I don't like the way it makes me break out. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like the sluggish feeling afterwards when I'm like sleeping at 3 in the afternoon. That pisses me off. But typically, since I do have a carnivore based and I am pretty healthy with my diet, I know when things are off, like energy wise, and it typically comes down to my sugar intake. It's like, okay, I'm sluggish right now. I don't feel that like primal rage, which is my testosterone. I know when that primal rage is there, it's like, okay, my testosterone is good. But I know if I've damaged the testosterone, I'll feel like shit. And I'm like, all right, where was the sugar? It's like, oh, you ate a bit of Mexican candy yesterday in the evening. Like you were having a couple of those like pulparinos and whatnot, and there it is. That's the problem. Okay, tonight we're gonna stay away from that stuff. And the next day I feel great. And so as for burning fat, number one, like my number one rule is eat more meat, and then number two is stay away from sugar as much as possible and substitute that sugar. I know that there's like sucralose and stuff like that out there. In my opinion, I do think that they're better than eating like table sugar. I would stay away from it. Best scenario, like best thing you can do is just fructose, which is fruit sugar. Dried fruit is like the best go-to ever. If you can get just organic dried mango, it's delicious. It tastes so damn good, and it's not going to get you fat. You have to eat a lot of it. Like you have to eat a shit ton of it to start putting on weight and really damaging your testosterone. It's one of those things that does feel good after you eat it. You eat dried fruit and go to the gym, you're gonna have a great workout. Like you're gonna have the good carbs, the slow burning sugar that doesn't like spike your insulin and send you into like a coma. And so for me, that's actually one of my favorite things before a workout is if I can get some dried fruit in. Just because it does give me that like glucose kind of pump a little bit and keep me carrying over throughout the workout. But yeah, you're definitely right when it comes to like focusing on diet if you want to lose weight. What would be your like go-to absolute beginner? Say somebody's 300, 400 pounds, maybe more. What would be the first thing you would want them to do just to increase heart rate or just to start burning fat? Like workout wise, or not even workout, but just like activation. What would be your go-to?
I mean, I think it differs from person to person, but the goal is to start moving, to
Mhm.
start taking that step of action. Um, I had someone who asked me yesterday, is just like, what would you give this person in terms of a training program if they asked you? And I said, I'm not going to give any training program to anyone who hasn't started taking a step. And what's really interesting is when I get clients who sign up with me to train, to be a personal trainer, is they've already taken a step. They've already, like, majority of my clients who their goal is weight loss, they've already lost so much weight. It's crazy to me. It's like they've already taken that step and now they want to go further. They've seen a little bit of their reward, a little bit of their action. Now they want more professional advice. And so in terms of someone who goes to the gym, or like I wouldn't say, yeah, I wouldn't even say start going to the gym. You want to lose weight, start doing something. I don't care what it is, find something to do. Um there's You burn fat just by doing little things around the house. So everyone's different. Um, but let's say you don't move around the house a lot. Let's say you sit on your couch for 90% of the day. Start moving around the house. Start doing some chores. Start mowing a lawn. I don't know what it is, but you can start doing that. Maybe you are moving around a little bit about the house, and so start going on some walks. Um, Maybe you do walk a little bit, so maybe start going on some runs. Maybe you are already running. Go to the gym, start lifting some weights. So I think everyone's on a different level, but and everyone has different desires and different things they want. So it all depends, but pick something and do it. I think just taking a step in any direction towards moving more is gonna be a catalyst.
Mhm.
Action is the catalyst of motivation, and so take that step and you'll get those wheels turning. So
Mhm.
however small that step is, it just depends on where you are in life, but take that step, just a kind of a progressive step from where you already are at. But going back a little bit, I want to touch, um, like I've been losing weight a little bit, uh, and really focusing on trying to cut down and get pretty cut and lose as much body fat as I can, get in the single digits of body fat. And what's been really interesting is I can stay like 100% on my diet. And what I mean by 100% is like minimal processed foods. Probably, definitely in the single digits of grams of sugar a day. Um, only from my protein shakes, probably. But I could stay in that for multiple days, and I could watch a scale. I recommend weighing yourself every morning if you're trying to gain or lose weight. Um, But watching that scale, and you could see it like go down every single day. And don't get me wrong, there's fluctuations pretty much for everyone. But when I'm 100%, I could see it go down pretty accurately. And then I have a cheat day or a cheat meal. And it's crazy what that does to you. Like this week, I did that. I did like 4 or 5 days really, really well. Really seeing that. And then I have a cheat meal and it goes up 2 pounds. And that's pretty dramatic for me because I'm only at like 150 pounds. And so seeing 2 pound jumps up and down for a 180-pound person, that's completely like, yeah. But 2 pound is like, okay, and like, okay, maybe that's just one thing, but it stayed up there. And I thought that was pretty interesting because I could think it could be for several reasons. One, sugar makes you bloat. And so that
Inflammation.
processed food can make you be inflamed and bloated and retain that weight. Two, when you're not getting whole foods and you're eating processed foods, you're not getting that fiber. So that food doesn't digest out of you. It stays inside of you. It's harder to get it out of you. And I just thought it was pretty interesting because, you keep that processed food or you have that cheat meal and it kind of kills you. And in terms of diet, I think one of the most important things is people want this diet that they can lose weight fast, right? But that's not the goal. The goal is sustainability. You have to sustain that diet. And so, like I said before, if you have a mostly whole food diet that leaves you in a 500 calorie deficit, you can have a little treat, a little something. I think that is the goal. You got to build a diet where you have a sustainability that you like, I could hold this long term so I could maintain my goals. So I won't regain that weight instantly. And so you can't just have good, and then cheat, and then you'll get bloated, and then you don't get that fiber. Is just you got to maintain a consistent deal, maybe with tiny little treats in between everything that reward you and keep you going. And definitely another thing, like you mentioned, was the energy. Energy levels is the best you can do with your diet. It's crazy what energy can do for you. And I watch a lot of people, especially in the gym, that they're working out a lot, but their diet isn't optimal. So what are they doing? They're taking a lot of caffeine, tons of caffeine a day to give them that energy. And what I've noticed is the more optimal I create my diet, the more whole foods I do it, the more energy I have. And like the more I don't need that caffeine because I'm getting energy from my nutrients because I'm eating so much whole foods. And so energy is definitely a huge part in the diet. Lastly, you said eliminate the sugar. And I think that's extremely, extremely hard for most people. And I definitely think optimally you would eliminate most sugar. You would eliminate the sugar substitutes and you would rely on natural sugars as your main sugar or glucose go-to. But like I think we were talking about it on like last week's episode about dating is, people will say, you got to wait for her to be this and you have to do this and this and this. And like, don't get me wrong, optimally, she won't be in the middle of a workout and you could talk to her without her headphones on and you catch her before she leaves the gym. Don't get me wrong, that's optimal. But it's hard to do that. And so in terms of optimizing your diet, I am guilty of it in life and in diet. It's like I love to get thousands of goals and I'll write them all down. I get really motivated and a week I'll write 100 goals that I want to do that week. And I get less done than if I write probably 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah.
And so in terms of tackling your diet, I'll be honest, like tackling my nutrition was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Like, and I'm still trying to tackle it, but I'm doing better than I ever have done. And the reason because of that is I'm doing little by little. Like I started with breakfast. Say, okay, I'm going to leave lunch and dinner for now, but I'm going to start with breakfast. Now, how do I want to optimize this? Well, how do I want to make this healthier? And then I make that a little bit healthier and I try to do it. Okay, now move on to lunch. And so like for most people, like I said, if you come up to me, you say you want to lose weight, I would say, okay, what are your bad habits? Your ice cream, your snacks, your sugars, your sodas. Like, let's start with those. Start changing those little by little, bringing them all down. And then, so you can't take big leaps. You have to take tiny little steps.
Hmm.
And so I know I went on a tangent. So let's go
No,
back
you're
to
good.
exercise. What would you say for exercise? Uh, Losing weight in terms of exercise.
I had this roommate. His name was John. He's a great guy, really great. And he gave me one of the best pieces of advice for he's a big dude. Jack is all, he's just freaking massive. And I was trying to get bigger at one point, and he was calling me out. He's like, "Your triceps are looking small, bro." And I was like, "Damn, bro, like I'm really trying." And he said something that I was just like, "Why is that? That has nothing to do with this." We were at work because we both work together in a sales department. And he's like, "How many walks are you doing a week?" And I was like, "None." And he was like, "Why not?" And I was like, "It's not gonna help me build muscle." And he was like, "You sure about that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." He's like, "Not only does it help you build muscle, it helps you lose weight." And he was like, "Dude, you need to start walking." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "This is just the first piece of advice that you give anybody who wants to just improve their life in general when it comes to gym, dieting, losing weight, gaining muscle. Like, start going for a walk." And I was like, "What?" And we lived together. And I would notice him in the evening just leave the house, but he wouldn't get in his car. And I'm like, "Oh, wonder where he's going." And then he would just come home. And I was like, "Whatever." And he would do it every day. And I was like, "What the fuck is he doing?" Like, turns out you're just going for walks. That's it. And so I started doing that. And I, because my biggest issue when it came to like my frustration with my physique was the fat on the lower part of my abdomen. I was like, I want to lose this like little fat on the bottom part of my abs. I like my top part of the abs, but I want my lower part of the abs. I started walking every day during that time and shredded out my abs. Then it wasn't even like I wasn't running, I wasn't like doing a bunch of other crazy shit. I just started going for a 10 to 15-minute walk every day. And I lost that little bit of like fat that was hanging on the bottom of my abs. And I was like, that's it? And my cardiovascular health in general improved. So my pumps got bigger, my workouts got better. Like when we would go to the gym, I had so much more energy. And I was like, that's it? Like that's all I had to do was just go on a walk? Like, damn. Like that's a lot easier than I thought. And it's like I still struggle with it. It's something I still have to remind myself, like, Tanner, are you going for walks? And I was like, I'm not going for walks. Like cardiovascular health. I'm not going to get great pumps. I'm not going to be able to burn fat unless I have cardiovascular health. And like the first thing to do is just go for a walk. Doesn't have to be a long walk. It can be 10 minutes. That's it. And it just gets those capillaries open, gets your heart pumping a little bit, opens things up, loosens up those joints. It's like now I have a little bit more energy available. And it's so surprising how much that'll do for you. It's mind blowing. And you don't have to do it every day. You could do it every other day if you wanted to. But just going for a walk, it's it's crazy how much it helps. And it's something that I still struggle and have to constantly remind myself, like, oh, I'm feeling like shit. Am I going for a walk? Am I walking? No, I'm not. Okay. I should probably start walking again.
Well, cardio is pretty crazy. Like I've been looking into it a lot, and I've been doing a lot of cardio lately. But I recommend 150 minutes of cardio a week, low intensity cardio, um, because the low intensity will help you retain your muscle, and it also is less taxing. How hard is it to go on a walk? I tell people get on a bike. Get on a bike. Like, how hard is it to go on a bike? You can watch a show, you can watch a movie as you're going on that bike. Incline treadmill. I love incline treadmill. I do that every day. Um, just these little things, low intensity cardios. I recommend half an hour, 5 days a week, because they have shown so much for so many benefits. For one, in terms of weight loss, studies show that the amount of calories you burn on doing cardio, you're only hungry for 50% of those. So you would think, oh, I burned 500 calories in cardio. Now I'm just going to be hungry for 500 more calories. No, that's not what the studies show. The studies show you burn 500 calories on cardio, you're only going to be hungry for 250 of those. So you're burning 250 calories just without even having to be hungry for them. But you got to be careful because, doing too much cardio uh, your body can definitely adjust to try to mitigate those your NEAT or your non-exercise thermogenetics. They're gonna kind of adjust to those. You're gonna be moving less in a day if you're doing a lot of cardio because your body's gonna be a little bit exhausted. So I wouldn't recommend too much cardio, but a little bit of cardio every day is definitely gonna help you hit your goals. And like you were saying, it helped you with your resistance training. Um, in terms of cardiovascular health, that's what cardio stands for. It gets that heart going faster. It gets your body saying you used to being expending energy over a longer period of time. And so, in terms of helping your workouts, you're going to be able to push harder sets. Like you're going to be able to go closer to failure and for longer periods of time because your heart's going to be prepared for it. That's what cardio does for you. It basically just trains your heart up. And so, in
Mhm.
terms of strength training, yeah, you definitely could benefit from that by just being able to do more because your heart's like, well, let's get it. Like I've done worse than this when I was on that treadmill. I pumped for harder for longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, cardio is definitely a really cool tool in terms of weight loss. It definitely does work.
Yeah, it's very underrated, I know, especially in the bodybuilding, like bro split side of things. They're like, oh no, it kills gains. And just my experience alone, like I maximize my gains when I'm doing cardio. It doesn't matter if I'm cutting or bulking, as long as I'm doing cardio. If I'm in a caloric surplus and I'm doing cardio, my body will use those calories, especially if I'm eating clean. It'll use those nutrients. It'll have a more optimal uptake of those nutrients. If I'm not doing cardio, I feel like energy wise, I'm just not there. And the times when I was the biggest and the most shredded, I'll be honest, I was running like 2 to 4 miles a week, 1 day a week. I wasn't doing it like throughout the week. I was just doing 1 day, 2 or 4 miles. And for some reason, my size, my striations, everything was on point. My energy levels, the pumps, like my cardiovascular health was like top tier. And so I could eat a great amount. I could get just the craziest workouts, like good hour and a half to 2 hour workouts without gassing out. And that's another thing is like, if you're not doing any cardio, I feel like you said, like your heart isn't getting used to like pushing. And so you go to the gym, you do some like kind of like the difference in workout when you do a little bit of cardio before you start actually working out versus just working out, the workouts are very different. Like when I do my like 8 minutes of high intensity interval training before I lift, my lift is so much better. Like my pump is disgusting. Like, and I love it. I love it so much. When I just go straight into a workout, my pump is mediocre. Like it's subpar at best. And like, to some put, I can really push a little bit, but it's nothing like as if I started with that 1 minute running, 1 minute walking, because I do it every day on the gym. And anytime I'm at the gym, I'll always start with a minute run, minute walk, and I'll do it for 8 minutes. But there are days where I hit 24 and all of the treadmills are taking, and I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to start lifting. And my workout is trash, dude. My workout's like, I'm like 40 minutes in, I'm like, all right, I want to go home, I want to eat, and I want to go to bed. Like, whatever. But if I get my little cardio right beforehand, it's not a lot, it's only 8 minutes. It's a very small sliver of my workout. It changes my workout from 45 minutes to an hour and a half of just like the meanest, sluttiest pump. And so for me, it's like a huge turnaround. And so like I that's why I say to people like just go for a 10-minute walk. Like 10-minute walk every day will change your life dramatically. Because my little 8 minutes of high intensity interval training, I'm not doing like 15 minutes or 30 minutes. I'm just doing 8 minutes. It's very little. I'm literally only running 4 minutes. Like that's it. I'm not running a lot. Like I'm running for 4 minutes. That's it. And I'm walking for 4 minutes. Just like we're going back and forth, and then I'm done with it, and I can start my workout. But just that little 8 minutes alone dramatically changes the dynamic of my entire workout. So that's just anecdotal. Like over many years of training, this is just what has been working for me optimally. So that's my like go-to when it comes to just losing weight and putting on muscle. Like that, the little 8 minutes is everything to me for both sides, cutting and bulking. It's everything.
Yeah. I think there are little things to consider with cardio for optimization, but I don't want to overthink anyone because, like I said, any step is better than no step. I don't want you to like, oh, I can't do it because of this.
Mhm.
But obviously, for cardio, there's some things you could do, like separating your cardio from your workout is pretty good. Like do your cardio in the morning and your workout in the evening. Um, because obviously you don't want to exhaust yourself. Or honestly, depending on your goals, it might want to be the opposite. Do your workout in the morning and cardio in the evening. That way, most of your energy is put into your workout. It has shown that cardio can affect your workout. So if you do cardio right before your workout, it could affect your energy levels and how you can push to failure. So it's best to separate those. And also, like I said, the high intensity cardio. If your goal is to gain muscle at the same time, avoiding too much high intensity cardio can be beneficial in terms of muscle growth and maintenance. And so I think, what was it? No more than maybe an hour a week of high intensity cardio, as in 150 minutes of low intensity cardio for in terms of muscle growth. And it all depends on your goals, right? If your number one goal is to lose weight, and obviously higher intensity is going to burn more calories quicker, and so you don't have to get on that bike for a long time. You could go for a 10-minute run, and it's going to burn half an hour of walking on a treadmill, the same
Mhm.
amount of calories. And so it depends on your goals and how you want to optimize them. Just some things to think about.
Yeah.
But in terms of one thing I wanted to get into was with diet and the culture of being overweight. Uh, one, yeah, I sent you the video of the guy quoting the study about by 2030, 50% of people are going to be obese. One out of
Mhm.
every two. That's what the stats are leading towards right now. Not overweight, obese. So like extremely overweight. And I thought that was just like mind-boggling to me because like that's a lot of people. And I think it was just the US, but it's still wild. And so I don't know, in terms of obesity, I'll ask you the question, is obesity a choice?
I think it is, to an extent. I think um, once once you understand that you are obese, you have a choice to make. Try or don't try. Like, and obviously there are a lot of things that you will be told when overweight, when it comes to Western medicine as well, that you'll hear a lot of these like quick routes, quick fix. Um, and understand if you try to pursue the quick fix routes, they're not going to work. And I say that with all the love in my heart. They will not work. I don't care what pill it is. I don't care what injection it is. It's not going to work, and it won't last. Um, I I do have compassion though because of our health education is so poorly constructed. So most people who are obese, it is 42% of Americans are obese. It's like 42.4. So we will be crossing that 50% threshold in the next few years, which is absolutely insane and horrifying. And if you are a part of that statistic, uh, I know that you haven't been given the best information. Like, you have not been given the best information. I know that from experience, from like going to school. Um, they didn't give us any information on how to optimize our health in sixth grade, all the way up till like graduating high school. They gave us barely anything. Um, but the worst thing you can do is taking advice on losing weight from somebody else who is obese. That is the worst thing you can do for your health. Or somebody who is even like heavily, what you would consider, my best piece of advice when it comes to like losing weight is look at somebody you want to look like and do what, not always do what they do, but gather information from those people. Not just one of them, but as many of them as you can find. because it's a conglomerate of information. Me, myself, when it came to getting the physique I want, I didn't get all of this information from one person. I got everything that I utilize to get to where I am from thousands of people. Thousands of people that I admired, that I was like, I like the way they look. I want to look that way. Because obviously, some people had some terrible advice along the way that I was like, probably should do that. I'm going to wait on that one. That one sounds a little dangerous. And there were always those quick fixes along the way that people were like, oh, just do this and you'll get jacked and you'll get jacked quick. And I was always like, I'm gonna wait on that one. I don't think I'm gonna do that one. I'm gonna try this route just because this guy's been doing it longer and he's looked better and he's in his 50s. You're in your 20s, you look great, but your quick fix, I don't know how long that's gonna last. And so when it comes to losing weight, is it a choice? I mean, when it comes to being obese, is it a choice? It's a choice if you choose not to do anything about it. If you find out that you are obese, you realize you are obese, and you accept that as your reality, that is a choice. If you choose to just like, okay, if you are not trying every single day, you are choosing to be obese, and it is your fault. But if you don't even have to try that much, because it's the rule of Kaizen, 1%. That's all it takes. If you are trying at 1% a day, just switching out a little bit of your snacks for some dried fruit, switching out some fries and some heavy carbs for just a little more meat, less carbs, that's all it takes. If you're trying a little bit, you are choosing to be healthy. Even if you are currently obese, as long as you're trying, that is your choice to be healthy. You are choosing to achieve a better physique. But if you're not going to choose that 1% every day, you are choosing to be obese, and that is your fault. And expect to stay there for the rest of your life. So I do think it is a choice to an extent, but I think that there are people that are obese that are soon to be very healthy, out of choice.
Yeah. I think nothing of value comes easily.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was talking about in the diet about sustainability, it's about creating a lifestyle. And so all these quick fixes and pills and surgeries, and they're not going to bring you to where you want to go. I understand the desire to do it, because I mean, who doesn't want something quickly?
Mm-hmm.
But what's going to get you to where you really want to be is going to be the long process, little by little. That's going to take some time. And so, in terms of obesity in that question, I always say you don't really choose obesity, but you choose not to be obese. You don't choose to be overweight, but you choose to be active. And so, the positive choice is always chosen, while the negative choice is always just a consequence of your little actions that have led to that. And in terms of people accepting where they are, is I don't think they chose to get there, but they definitely could be okay. Well, I'm here now. I'm happy. I don't want to exercise. I like eating the donuts. I'm not going to cut those. And so that attitude is kind of saddening, because deep inside, I don't believe they're happy where they're at, and I honestly believe that they have some psychological problems. I mean, I'm sure they're depressed. Um, there was a really interesting thing I was kind of looking into this week. It's called nutritional psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, how what you eat affects your brain. Basically, talking about how Alzheimer's is the type 3 diabetes, and about how all these diseases um, essentially can be mitigated through diet a lot of the times. And so, yeah, when it comes to these negative things in your life, obesity or diseases, depression, uh, Alzheimer's, cancer, all these things are accumulation of little things in our life. You can never pinpoint it to one thing. This thing causes cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the accumulation of all these little things. Um, but studies are showing, and people are starting to stand up, because the nutritional information out there has been so whack and so um, misinformed through so long. But your diet has a huge thing on how all these things come together. And so, what you got to look at is your whole life and all the little things that are leading to it. And a lot of negative outcomes can be avoided. And if you're already there with the negative outcomes, okay, now you got to start looking at what led you there. And now what bad habits have you accumulated that you could start replacing with uh, not even good habits, but better habits. Like you're taking the tiny steps, like cut the sodas and make them diet sodas. Uh, like I said, cut the French fries. Try a healthier snack. So in terms of you choose the good choice, but you don't choose the bad choice. The bad choice is you chose the little choices, which led to the bad choice. Instead of choosing the bigger choices, and you didn't really get to choose the smaller choices that led to the big good choice because they're harder. I don't want to be in a calorie deficit every day. I'm hungry. But I chose that because I chose the long term. I chose the being losing weight, getting cut.
It reminds me of this quote by I think it was John C. Maxwell. Um, the man who forgets the ultimate will always be a slave to the immediate. It's like if you forget your ultimate goal, you're going to drift towards whatever's immediately available. And I think it's something to remember is if you don't keep your ultimate goal in mind, you will be a slave to the immediate, and your immediate will lead you to self-annihilation. It will lead you to a faster death. And I don't even have to prove that one. Like, if you are obese, you are at risk for so many it increases the chances of you having an early death, like in a lot of different realms, not just cancer, like heart related issues. Like you violently increase your chances of an early death. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to live to be 100, but most of those people are dying at like 50, 60 years old. Or a lot of them are just losing their ability to walk around that time. And that's something that like my brother talked about when I was a kid is like, if you don't use it, expect to lose it. It's the same with all skills and talents. If you don't use it, expect to lose it. Same thing with your ability to walk and run. If you don't use it, expect to lose it. If you don't utilize your health, expect to lose your health. And so it is really sad because majority of people are just drifting. They're just drifting to an early death, and they're digging that grave one day at a time, one Skittle at a time, one donut at a time. They're just digging that early grave. And it's disheartening because I do have dear friends close to me, even at this time, that are doing it actively. Though they are not overweight, they are not obese. They're very thin or smaller. Some of them are overweight. They are choosing that early death. And you can tell just by the way they talk socially and the way that the things that they post. They're very depressed, very anxious, on a lot of medications for the depression and anxiety. And I know a lot of people like to point to external factors when it comes to depression and anxiety, and they go, oh, I'm depressed because of so and so or because of this happening in my life. And I like to think of a quote by Neil Donald Walsh is if you do not go within, you will go without. And it ties into like, if you don't go within for the solution to your problem, you will go without. A lot of people like to look externally like, oh, it's their fault, it's that person's fault, it's society's fault. And it's like, no, your depression is your own fault. Your anxiety is your own fault. Like, if you are sad, it is your fault. Especially with reading The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday this last week, which I love. The Obstacle is the Way teaches you that something we talked about previously is like a lot of times people can walk up to you and say like the most horrendous things to you, and you can take it any way you want. You can be like, oh, that offends me, that hurts my feelings. Or you can be like, haha, yeah, whatever, I don't care. The sticker doesn't stick. And that's your choice. And so your response to whatever it is entirely your choice. And I think when it comes to your health, you can try to point to external factors for your depression, your anxiety, your obesity, but in reality, it is your own fault getting there. It is your own fault ignoring trying. And so, especially these friends that I have nearby that are, their input is the result of their output. So if their output is depression and whatnot and anxiety, their input is typically sugar, easily accessible carbs and processed foods. these really, really shitty foods that just don't help. And then their output is depression and a very destructive and angry view of life, that life is hell, that life is really difficult and hard. Um, and I think it just goes back to what you eat. Like a lot of how you feel comes down to like how you eat, because your input will equal your output. And thinking that it doesn't is crazy. Like if you put sugar in your gas tank, do you think your car is gonna fucking drive? No. Your input equals your output. I guarantee if you were to put sugar in your gas tank, your car would cease to work indefinitely. And it's like you have to put the right thing in there. Like in your body, if you're not putting water in, if you're putting soda in, don't expect to be able to drive. Don't expect to be able to move. If you're putting water in, you should be able to move. And I think this is just something that we've looked over. We're like, oh, my depression is not the result of me eating, it's not the result of me drinking soda. It's not the result of me, eating burgers and fries and, easy sugars. It's not that fault. It's just because people treated me poorly. No bullshit, dude. It's because you treat yourself like shit. Like you're treating yourself poorly. And so you hate your life. And I have this quote about depression, is that depression is the result of the way you talk and treat yourself. Suicidality is you not keeping your agreements with yourself. It's like your depression is the result of the way you speak to yourself and the way you treat yourself. If you have suicidality, it's the reason that exists in your life is you are not keeping your agreements. You seek to annihilate the thing that doesn't honor you. When people don't treat you well, when people don't show up for you, when they're like, hey, let's go have breakfast, and they bail, and the next day they say, hey, let's go have breakfast, and then they bail again, and they do that every day for a couple of weeks, you're like, I hate this friend. I want nothing to do with this friend. It's the same thing for yourself. And you're like, I'm going to show up to the gym for myself. And then you don't do it. And the next day you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it today. And then you don't show up. You seek to annihilate that person. And that's you. It's your own self that you're seeking to annihilate. That's where suicidality comes from. I think that's really important.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much control you actually have over your life. I think regardless of the actual control or not, I think having the mentality that I can control this and I can receive this outcome is regardless better for you. You're going to take actions towards that and you're going to grow in that direction. I think regardless of where you're at, you have to choose that long-term goal. What do you want? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? You got to think of these things and you got to establish that goal, because once you establish that goal, it creates a path. It creates a direction for you to head in. And once you have that direction, you could start taking steps. You can start doing little things. And yeah, regardless of where you're at, let's say you're already fit, you're not overweight, and you want to get a little more cut. It's like, okay, let's take these little steps. Let's say you are overweight or obese, like start taking little steps. It doesn't matter where you're at. Choose where you want to be and start taking those steps. You want to avoid those negative outcomes, and this is the only way. You gotta choose that long-term goal. If you don't, then you're gonna drift and you're gonna fall down the hill, and you're gonna go in the opposite direction. And so, if you're not trying to get good on your diet, if you're not going to the gym, you're gonna probably start to drift towards being overweight. If you are overweight and you're not taking tiny steps and you're not choosing to not be overweight, you're probably going to end up obese. And if you are obese and you're not taking little steps, you're treading a thin line, and that you have, like you said, a lot of risks associated with that. And so take the little steps. Start moving in that direction. If you aren't moving in that direction, life's going to throw you aside. It's going to throw you in the opposite direction, and you're going to be not where you want to be. And then it's just a downhill, and you're going to get depressed. You're going to get diseases, and it's just going to be bad. So I think you got to have a lot of self-accountability. You got to realize I am in control. I think it's super easy to throw the blame. It's so easy. I think I am bad with relationships. I am bad socially. And it's so easy for me to blame that on, how I was raised. It's so easy to blame it like where I was raised, like maybe my friends, uh, my culture. I could blame it on so many things so easily. It's like, okay, yeah, that's not my fault. It's not my fault. But how is that going to help me? That's not going to help me. That's just avoiding the problem. If I say I am bad at this because that's my fault and I need to improve in this, that puts it on me. Say, okay, now I need to make this better because it was my fault to begin with. If it's someone else's fault, you're not going to take accountability and improve in that area. And so you got to really own up to your weaknesses and take actions to improve those because they're no one's fault but yourself. Even if they are someone's fault, don't believe that. They're your fault. Take actions to improve that. Um, I think we hold on to a lot of burdens in life, like extra weight. I think there's a lot of burdens we hold on to. When you're throwing the blame on someone else, you're holding on to that weakness. If I come to the acceptance like I am overweight, but I'm fine. I don't want to work hard to lose this. I like eating the junk food I like. You're holding on to that burden. So I think in several aspects of life, just like extra excess weight, we hold on to these things, uh, but we can get rid of them. We can live like we want to live. We could live happier without these risks, without these diseases. Um, as long as we take steps. And so I think in life, holding on to these burdens that are unnecessary, it's we accustomed to it. We don't want to get rid of them. It's so easy to be in comfort, but the only way to get rid of them is to embrace that discomfort, to take little actions. Just like I said, nothing of value comes easy. You got to put it in a little difficulty, and then you're going to be happy.
I think I agree with you 100%. And that liberation from the things you truly want to lose, because wanting to lose weight, when you finally start losing it, it feels good. It feels really good. When you see that scale start to move down, it is liberating as hell. When you start moving, you get 3 days of walks under your belt. Like, even for myself, when I just started walking and I got 3 days down of just 10-minute walks, dude, I felt amazing. I was like, fuck yeah, man. That's worth celebrating. Um, and it does result in that output of like a happier life. And I know that a lot of people like to view this life as hell, as like this life is terrible, this life is whatever. It's the worst. I can't wait to I hear it all the time. Or at least I see it all the time. And a lot of my friends, not a lot of my friends, but some of my friends posts on social media is like, oh, this life is hell, this life is, so bad. And the pendulum swings, I get it. Some days are better than others, and some days are, kind of shit. But I think you can have an overarching experience of good or bad. And it depends on your input and your output. And so that liberating feeling, that feeling of, oh, I'm doing it, I'm succeeding, can be the overarching feeling of life, which then you do view life as like heaven. You're like, wow, this is great. This life is good. This life's amazing. And I like to think of like sobriety. When we look at health, I know that like we like to say, oh, cheat meals are good. Cheat meals are, it's nice to have a cheat meal. But if you go 4 months without a cheat meal, do you know how fucking good you feel? Like, it's good. When you go 4 months without drinking alcohol, do you know how good you feel? You feel really good. Like 4 months without cigarettes feels really good. And I know that we say like it's hard, it's okay to have like a cheat meal, whatnot. It's okay to like have a mishap. But I like to think of it like sobriety almost. Is like if you can go a year without a cheat meal, that feeling is liberating as hell. Do you know how long I've gone without soda? Bro, years. Years without soda. And just to be able to say that feels so good. Like it feels so good. And I get to carry that with me, that good feeling. Anytime I'm at a restaurant, they're like, oh, what do you want to drink? Just water. Every single time. And just saying that, I'm like, I'm honoring myself. It's like a thing of sobriety. It's just like it feels good. Um, but like we said, like 1% at a time is worth it, and it'll get you there. Like I didn't just quit soda one day and just never drank it again. Trust me, like I was off and on those Mountain Dews for months, man. Like, oh, let's get some Baja Blast, you know? That was, 19, I think years, I was 19 years old when I started, but it's the overarching feeling can be good. Like life can be heaven. It can be good. It can be long lasting joy. It doesn't have to be this like hell of like obesity and self hate and like self loathing and oh, life is hell. It can be good. It can be really fun and liberating. And that can be the overarching feeling. Yes, the pendulum will swing back to like bad days every so often, but the overarching feeling, the over 60, 70%, sometimes even 80% of your life can turn to good. But it's not the quick fix route. It's never the quick fix route. It's always the longer one. It's always the 4 years, the 5 years of not drinking soda. It's like, oh man, overarching, feeling good. Feeling better than what I could be feeling if I was still drinking that shit. And I think that's something to remember is like, you can annihilate that depression. You can completely annihilate it. You can get rid of it completely. You know, obesity, you can annihilate that for the rest of your life if you want. If you're obese and you want to get rid of it and you never want to identify with that again, you can have that. It can be yours. It's not impossible. And that can be the overarching experience is like fit and healthy of your life. So it's something to keep in mind.
I think you gotta decide in your life who do you want to be, and you gotta picture that person in your head. What does this person do? What does this person eat? Uh, what hobbies does this person have? And you gotta think of all these aspects, and then you gotta start working towards that. And it's different for everyone. Everyone has a different picture of who they want to be and what that person does. Uh, and it's hard. It's hard to push in that direction. But you gotta take those little steps, and the smaller the steps you take, the better it's gonna be for you. It's like honestly studying weight loss and studying a cut. Um, the kind of more steady and the best trend line you could create on that weight loss, the more it's gonna benefit you. And it's the same in life. Is just start taking the little steps, and you'll get there. Um, don't take big leaps because those are you're bound to trip and fall. Um, sometimes they work, cold turkey cuts. Sometimes I wouldn't recommend it though because it's bound for a relapse. It's bound for a thing. Like let's say on the soda example, if I would recommend start, maybe if you're drinking multiple sodas a day, start with one soda a day. Then go to one soda a week, one a month. And then maybe at that point you could cut. Or maybe you need to go to one every other month. Whatever it takes to get you there. Or maybe right off the bat you could go, I'm going cold turkey. But I fear that because one time is always going to lead to a second time. And that's the thing about relapse and addictions is you accept one and then it's bound to have another. Like let's say I'm cutting that soda, I decided cold turkey, and then you know what, I've been good for a week or two, I'm gonna have a soda. And you drink that soda, it's like, you know what, I was already bad today and had a soda, let me have another soda today. I was already bad, today's a bad day, and then you drink another soda. And it's the same thing with any addiction. You can't allow that one time because that one time will bring his friend. And so once you establish a character, be that character. Work in that direction. I recommend going slowly and get there. And then once you're there, be there. Like I said about the diet, about weight loss, it's about sustainability. You got to build a lifestyle. It's not losing the weight so you can look good for a few days and then you can start packing on that. It's about building the lifestyle. You want to always look good. I want to always be healthy and not drink that soda. I want to always be healthy and not eat all those sugars So it's about building that lifestyle. When I'm building a diet, I got to build a diet that I can hold for a long period of time and be happy with. It's not going to affect my mental health being in starving all the time, eating foods I don't like. You got to build it to where you like it, but it's good for you. And so that's the whole process of it. And in weight loss and in life is building the lifestyle that you want to live and maintaining that lifestyle. Don't cheat yourself. Be that person because that's who you want to be remembered as, is that person.
I like that. And it's also important, like you said, to design that character. Because if you don't have a clear picture of that character, you have no roadmap. Like it's good to write those things down. Like get out a piece of paper, write down what that character is. Because if you're in a state of self-annihilation, there's something in you that you want to die. And it's not actually yourself. It's a version of yourself that you don't like. And that version does deserve to go. And typically it's the one that's not keeping agreements. So it's good to like get clear on who you want to be, embody that person, and look back at the version that you don't want. Be like, you're going down. I'm annihilating you. It's good to design the character. Like, what does that healthy person do? Do they go on walks? Do they work out? What foods do they eat? Do they have cheat meals? Do they not? Do they not drink soda? Are they completely clean from soda for 10 plus years? Are they sober? Do they not drink alcohol? Like, get crystal clear on that character. Write that character down. Put it on a piece of paper. All of the different attributes. The more crystal clear you get, the more visible the roadmap is. And once you have that character, it's like a video game. Once you design that character, they just get better and better. Like they get a lot better. You get all of the things that you want, and then you just get better and better and better. And you're like, damn, like I'm so much further than I thought I'd ever be. I had it the other night, actually. Um, we came home from a workout, and I was standing in front of the mirror, and like I almost started tearing up. I was looking at myself, and not to be vain, but I was like, I was very impressed with the pump that I got. And I thought back to my 16-year-old self, and I was like, he never even imagined getting here. Like, he imagined being fit. He didn't imagine getting here. And, like, this is so much further than I ever thought. I remember at that time, like, oh yeah, like I'd like to stop drinking soda and I want to get, some good biceps and some abs, And now I've got a whole physique that it is rounded out in all of the different areas, and I'm working on different like striations in certain muscles and bringing out certain attributes, and I'm just chiseling away at this character. And I was looking at this person that I am now, and I've worked so hard to get here. And I was thinking back to the 16-year-old me, and I'm like, damn, I'm so much further than he ever dreamed was possible. Like his vision was here, but where I am now is like up here, and that feels so good. And I had to get crystal clear on that character. I'm like, I want him to have abs, I want him to be smart. I want him to be healthy. I don't know how healthy, but I want him to stop drinking soda. And I had some sort of idea. Once you accomplish those things, you're just knocking out other things along the way. You're like, oh, no chocolate now, no whatever, You're like, cut the sugar out altogether. Like, let's eat more meat, let's cut out these processed. Because then it's your victory after victory, and it feels really good when you get there. So start designing that character, because you're gonna have to annihilate the old one. That one's gonna have to go. That one will have to die. So design the new one that you want to be, and just 1%. This is just it. Like we said, just 1%. That's all it takes. Just 1% there. Because all you need is 100 of those little ones. That's it. You get 100 days without soda. Trust me, you're not gonna crave soda. That's honest to God. You go 100 days without soda, you're gonna be like, I honestly won't care for one. I don't want one. I'm good. You get 100 of those under your belt, you're like, I could do this forever. You get 100 days of going on walks, you're like, I could do this forever. So, something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
All right. Should we do goals?
Sure.
All right. How'd you do?
All right. Well, I think my goal was to add some chaos into my life, and I feel like I go in a circle with this, honestly.
Okay.
Because chaos is good, but at the same time, chaos is bad. So no, it was good, and in terms of kind of reevaluating things. But I mean, in terms of what we discussed today, the goals you establish every day, they have to be sustainable. You have to enjoy them in the long run, and you got to find ways to do that. And when adding chaos is like, I haven't been reading, but I want to read. Is it good to not read? No, I want to be reading. And so it was a good reflector, a good way to think, a good way to kind of reorganize my life. But this week, I definitely want to get back on track. And so my goals are going to be to read this week every day, 4 days a week, or for at least 4 days to get my reading done on my days off of work. And to try to get as well more of my goals, such as writing and such, but mainly reading back on track. And that'll be my goal.
Okay. I like it. My goal was to maintain momentum when it came to like my reading. I love how both of ours was like read, and I kind of unintentionally embraced chaos. You like talked about embracing chaos, and I embraced a little chaos this week. um, but I should give myself credit. I still read a lot. I just didn't read as much as I wanted. So I finished 2 books this week. They were shorter, smaller books. But to me, that I didn't maintain momentum. So I would like to build a little bit more momentum this week to get back up to where I was. So I will give myself credit for the 2 books that I read. I did good. And this week, I just want to build on that momentum. Keep moving. Just keep moving forward. Keep adding 1% to it. So maintain and build, not just maintain. Last week it was maintain and I fucked that up. So maintain, just build. So we're just gonna read all week. Both of us. It's just fucking read.
Heck yeah.
All right. That concludes episode 31 of 2 Minutes to Life. We will see you guys next week.